Hello friends, welcome to Blended Learning and Quiz on Python. So this is topic 2, loops in Python. Here we'll be studying what do you mean by loop and what are the different types of loop in Python. So first of all, what is loop? A loop is a block of code which is required to be executed repeatedly. So if you want to repeatedly execute some number of statements, so those many statements can be kept in a block which can be kept inside a loop, and depending upon the condition that loop will get executed as many times as we want as per the defined condition. So in Python we have two types of loop, a while loop and a for loop. So let's try to see how to use them. So the first loop is a while loop. First loop is a while loop. To use the while loop, we need to make use of a keyword while, and then in parentheses or after a space you can define a condition. So condition is defined, and then the start of a block, and then the different statements. Whatever statement you want to put, all those statements can come into this while loop. And if I want to come out of this while loop, I need to simply come out of this block. So now I am out of a while loop. So if you see carefully this while loop statement, so here we have a condition. Now condition is nothing but you are comparing some variable with some value. For example, if I compare a variable value over here, something like this, while I is less than 10, uh, do something. For example, print the value of I simply. And now, an important thing about a while loop is that whatever the variable you have in a condition, that variable should have some value before this while loop. So the variable I should be initialized with some value. So for example, I equals to 1. Then while I is less than 10, I'm going to do something. Now inside a while loop, you need to ensure that you are going to modify this condition variable, because if you do not modify this condition variable and if the condition is true, then the loop will keep on executing indefinitely. So this is called as a finite loop or the indefinite loop. Now in indefinite loop or finite loop, we do not come out of a loop unless and until explicitly we break the code or we terminate the program. So you need to specify a modifying value to a condition variable. So suppose I write I plus equals to 1. Now you must be remembering that I plus equals to 1 is nothing but I equals to I plus 1. And then let me remove all this. So let's execute this code, and we have output. So the first value of I is 1, so 1 2 3 4 up to 9, because we are putting condition less than 10. So here you can put up multiple conditions or the way you want to compare the things as per your requirement. So here it will go up to 10. Now you need to remember only one thing, that in while loop, whatever variable you have inside the condition, that variable must be initialized before the while loop, and it must be modified inside the while loop. Otherwise your while loop will become a infinite loop or it will become an indefinite loop. And basically the major application of a while loop generally in Python is for indefinite loop. So wherever you have a condition where you are going to show some menu to a user with different options, and one of the options is say the quit option or the exit option. So unless and until the user goes for that option, that program would keep on executing. So for such condition, we make use of a indefinite loop, which is best done with the help of a while loop. For example, if I write something like this, while a true condition. So for example, 1 equals 1. So this is always true. So this always true condition makes this while loop as a infinite loop or the indefinite loop. So while I equals 2, which is a false condition, so this loop will never get executed, or this can be called as a zero loop. Or I can simply write while 1. So this is also indefinite loop, because 1 is always 1, so the condition is always true, and this will become an infinite loop or an indefinite loop. Now the next one or the second loop in Python is for loop. And then the syntax for using the for loop is something like this: for some variable, and then the in keyword, and then a container or a collection. So for I, that is variable I, j, whatever you want, in a collection, in a list or any collection. And now in Python, we have a function called range, which can be used to generate the range of numbers. Now, since we are simply going for the example wherein we are having a collection of numbers or range of numbers, and from that numbers, one value would be taken into this variable I. So I can write here that range, say, up to 10. Now this becomes my for statement, and inside this simply will be displaying the value of I. That's all. Let's execute this code. And if you see here, then this 1 to 10 is this 1 to 10, this values are the values, sorry, these values are the values due to a while loop, and then you have the value from the 0 to 9, and these values are the values because of this for loop. So in range, by default it starts from 0 and it goes up to a number one less than the specified number. So if the specified number is 10, it will go up to 9. And if I want to start it with a different value other than 0, so I can specify here the start value. So for example, I range 1 to 10. Now let's make this as a comment. So for multi-line comment, we know it is triple single quotes or triple double quotes. Let's execute this code. Now the output is 1 to 9. So the range is starting from 1 and it is going up to 9. Now the third value for the range function is a step value. By default, the step value is 1. And if I make it 2, so let's see what happens. Now if you see the output, here we are starting from 1 and we are making a step of 2. So instead of increasing the value by 1, we are increasing the value by 2. So after 1 we have 3, then 5, then 7, and then 9. That is up to 10, or value less than 1 less than 10. So this is how a range function works, and this is how you can make use of a for loop. Now, interestingly, you can make use of a loop inside loop, a loop within loop, which is also called as a nested loop. So for example, I can say for I in range 1 to 5, and then for j in range same 1 to 5, uh, we'll simply print something. Suppose let me print star, and then let me make the end value as nothing, and then after complete iteration of the inner loop, I simply want to have a new line. So let's see what is the output of this. So if you see, so we have one pattern. So it is something like a 4 by 4 matrix, wherein you have 4 stars in the first row, 4 stars in the second row, 4 stars in third row, and then 4 stars in the fourth row. So this inner loop executes 4 times, 1 to 4, and then this outer loop also executes 4 times. But for every iteration or every execution of the outer loop, the inner loop would be executing completely. So for one iteration of the outer for loop, the inner loop would execute 4 times. Then for the second iteration, it would again execute 4 times. Then for the third iteration, again 4 times. And then for the fourth iteration, again 4 times. So if you see here, for the first iteration, 4 times. Sorry, for the first iteration, it is 4 times, and then for the second iteration it is 4 times, then for the third iteration it is 4 times, then for the fourth iteration is 4 times. And if I make this as 1 to 6, so then we have 5 times execution of the outer loop and 4 times execution of our inner loop for every execution of a outer loop. So if I execute this, So I should have five rows and four columns. Let's see. So we have four columns, one, two, three, four, and then we have five rows. One, two, three, four, five. So this way you can display different kind of patterns. And for example, suppose for five rows, uh, I want to display the values like say it would be going up to I plus 1, suppose. Let's see. So in this case, if you see carefully, so we have this kind of pattern. So for every iteration of outer loop, the inner loop would be executing this many times. For the first iteration of the outer loop, the inner loop would execute only one time. For the second iteration, it would execute second time. For the third iteration, three times. For the fourth iteration, four times. For the fifth iteration, five times. So this way you can get this pattern. And if you want the reverse of that pattern, for example, uh, now we have one star in first line and five stars in the fifth line. So if I want say five star in first line, then four stars in second line, and so on, that is something like a mirror or the reverse of this or opposite of this pattern. So how that can be done? So in that case, we'll be simply saying that the final value of I is important for us. So the final value of I is 5, and we would be saying that we start from 1 and then we go up to the final value that is 5. That is should be 6 because we are starting from 1 minus I. So if I write like this, so it would be like for the first iteration of the outer the loop, when the value of I is 1, so that time it would be this would be 1 comma 6 minus 1, that is 5. So basically it would iterate 4 times, 1 2 3 4, but I want it 5 times, so instead it should be 7, that is plus 1. Let's see. So now if you see this, for the first line we are having 5 star, for the second line 4 star, then 3 star, then 2 star, then 1 star. So this is something like a mirror image of this, you can say, or exactly opposite of this pattern. So this way, with some manipulation or some tricks, you can come out with different patterns. Nested loop or the loop within loop has got a lot of applications in sorting and so on. So it's always better to practice with nested for loops. You can combine for loop and while loop very well, no issues with that. But in while loop, you need to make an extra care that your condition variable must be modified inside the loop and it must be initialized outside the loop. So thank you very much for this section. We'll meet in the next section.